Why is the water dropped? Why does the sword reveal itself now?
The born king will come. It is inevitable.
He's coming back.
Who's coming back?
The born king.
Guy and I both were eager to avoid this sort of noble soul looking for a cause. So you make it a little less noble, and a little more grimy, and a little more selfish.
It's one of those legends that you just seem to know, but you've never seen an interpretation like it.
It's a classic tale made with a quite poppy energy.
It's just going to be a really exciting, visceral, funny, sexy rendering of this great story.
It's hard to pinpoint the time that you first encountered the story. Was this famous king real? Was he not? There are obviously historians who believe he might have been.
I grew up really enamored with the Arthurian legend.
It's the story of Arthur gathering a group of the best and boldest knights in the land to go on this incredible fantasy action-driven adventure.
I always would have just thought of King Arthur as quite a straight, kind of posh hero.
There's only one of me. I haven't had a fight for years.
And the King Arthur that Charlie and Guy are doing is the opposite to that.
And I'll talk. I'm happy to talk. But there is no way that I am fighting. The noble, righteous band of knights gallivanting around the countryside, selflessly fighting for those that are in need is interesting, but we've also seen that a million times before, so I think it's really smart that they did something a bit different.
This is the sort of beginnings of Arthur. You have to start with Arthur's father, Uther Pendragon.
He's just a king who's a legend reigning over his people and his kingdom. We don't know what's occurred with Uther and his brother Vortigern prior to now.
Hold the crown. Hold it steady.
We're straight into the action and into Uther having to defend his people.
Vortigern ends up taking the throne from Uther. We rejoin the story some 20 years on. From Vortigern's point of view, he is dominating and ruling the country with fear and order as he sees it.
When people fear you, it is the most intoxicating sensation a man can possess.
When we first find Arthur, we find him over at a bridge. He spends the first 30 years growing up in a brothel.
He's had to take everything that he wanted. It's like a starving wolf, sort of dangerous and feral, but sort of sophisticated.
Arthur has been raised with two other orphans, Backlack and Wetstick.
Arthur is the boss of the sort of London Bridge area of Londinium. He's carved out a little world for himself.
Hello, boy. Show's your brand. Have you not been tested? Well, that's about to change now.
Where do we stand, Mercia?
We're down to the last men of the right age, and still no one has pulled the sword.
Find him. You're quickly becoming a legend.
We came up with this beautiful idea that energetic connection happens when both hands are on the sword. The idea being that it creates a circuit, and so that energy will pass through one's body. But if there are energetic blocks caused by emotional trauma, it can block that energy. That gave a beautiful journey for Arthur through the film.
You felt it, didn't you? The power. That's what put you out. You just don't know how to control it.
I'm nothing but the bastard son of a prostitute.
The sword can only be drawn by Uther Pendragon or his direct heir.
A group of us were hidden in a cave way outside of London, patiently waiting for the young Arthurs to appear.
Do you know who I am?
You've been sent by Merlin,
Then you know why I am here.
so you will be his guide.
And you will help me.
When this revelation happens and he discovers that he is the true king, he rejects it. He doesn't want the responsibility, he doesn't really take it seriously.
Whatever it is that you and your friends think you want from me, I am not it.
We forget it took a group of people for King Arthur to be King Arthur.
Like it or not, this is your lot. Even we don't like you.
We want to see what he can do, more specifically what he can do with the sword. In order to stand amongst men, he needs to show how much of a man he is himself.
You want Vortigern to stick his neck out. You need to tease it out. You don't need 12,000 fighting men for that. What you need is this little rabble.
It is a kind of a gang caper, a group of guys.
And all the boys is a really tight group.
We're not the righteous knights in shiny armor. We're the sort of rough and ready guys that will say, oh, no, we ain't got no problem. We don't want any beef, you know. Bam! Oh, sorry, looks like you knocked out.
We're fans of the fairy tales that we were read as kids, of stories of dragons, stories of magic swords, stories of wizards and witches, the excitement and the action and battles. And we very much wanted to do our modern version of that.
Guy has a great love for the class structure, for folklore. It's that kind of curiosity that fuels and links, in a way, his early work to this.
I love that.
3 or 4 years ago, I was beavering away on the Arthurian legend, and then this one came along, and it had 300-foot elephants in it, and it was conspicuous about the fantasy element, and that's what changed everything.
I've known Guy for a long time and was intrigued to see what his take on this world would be. So I was quite surprised actually in terms of the level of fantasy and just how far you could take some of these ideas, and found it really entertaining.
Obviously, I'm a filmmaker, so I'm drawn to things that lend themselves to some visualization. I suppose like the same way as in Sherlock, I thought I could do a job with this. I wasn't sure what I could do with it, and I was outside of my comfort zone.
He always seems to be a director who wants to root it all in some kind of sense.
What Guy has done is said, no, 85% of this film is about character and storytelling, and then we're going to just sprinkle some magic on top.
The alibi for having this magical is pretty consistent and authentic to the Arthurian legend.
Usually when you write, you picture an actor. I hadn't pictured who King Arthur was going to be ever. It's like, who is that? Who can possibly personify King Arthur? Just a guy talking about who Arthur was. He was describing somebody who's masculine and has that kind of strength, but it is very charming, very likable. You like him even if he was misbehaving. He was describing Charlie.
Charlie's got swag, he's got presence, he's got the looks, he's got the charm, he's got everything you need to play a bad boy from the medieval times.
Are you falling for me like I'm falling for you?
He's a great actor, and he's someone who comes with his head screwed on, who has a great work ethic, enjoys being on set, and is fun to be on set.
You know what? You're right. You're right.
He's collaborative and open to ideas.
Okay, yeah, fair. Arthur and Jude's character, they're sort of the perfect balance for each other.
I will show them power. I will show them strength.
I'm a huge fan of Jude's. I think he's terrific. I think that he put in a performance in this film that is going to really surprise people, and I think he's done sensational work.
It's a wonderful combination of real malevolence and Machiavellian evil.
He's so believable as a baddie. I think it's a really interesting part for him, and he plays it so well, and he's such an incredible actor. You can't help but raise your game. It's just been wonderful to watch him be so evil and nasty.
We've tried to give you a world that a modern audience can relate to, not only in the filmmaking style, which is dynamic, action-packed and fun, but also in terms of the locations that we've created.
To be on a film set in the UK with this kind of a build, with 600 people on set, with 100 horses, it's exhilarating to be a part of.
The scale of the old school, big sets being built, and it's really unique. Going through the workshops and seeing the amount of construction that goes on. It's easy to forget just how many people work on a film of this size.
All all areas of the crew. I've been so overwhelmed by their talent and their passion to walk into an environment and see Camelot and see Londinium and be on these vast sets with 300 extras. The scale and the scope of it all, it's breathtaking.
Guy has passion for the historical culture that have come together to form what we see as Great Britain today.
I love it here. Well, there's a strong connection with Wales and the Arthur legend, and for years I've been thinking I'll be coming back here to shoot Arthur.
The landscape of Wales was sort of an extension of these incredible sets. You can't help but be affected when you're in a really gorgeous environment like that.
I think there's going to be a huge physical and visual spectacle.
I think it's going to be wildly entertaining.
Now we're warming up.
This has been by far the best film experience that I've ever had. I've had a blast.
We're going to take the castle. We're going in the front door.
You know what we have to do.
I'm going to kill her.
Behold, your born king!